Hello everyone. Welcome to my YNR 24 spoilers. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Mitch's dark secret and Sienna's serious danger. Sienna Bacall is new to the CBS soap series The Young and the Restless. According to spoilers, she may be in serious danger, despite her seeming fearlessness and fierceness. The club owner's life may be in jeopardy after Sharon Newman runs into Mitch Bacall, also known as Matt Clark. Let's discuss what might occur in the CBS soap drama as you continue reading. The stubbornness of Sienna Bacall. Let's start by discussing what we currently know about Sienna. The woman appears at ease with a wide range of individuals and operates a club in Los Angeles. Despite her tough exterior, the brunette is equally as good at games as the men in the bar. She did, however, appear to be shaken by Noah Newman's accident. She then had some private conversations with Holden Novak. Additionally, Sienna explained something to Nick Newman before bringing up additional points with Sharon. There's no doubt that the woman can compete, but that doesn't make her the bad guy. In reality, the person she is closest to may end up putting her in danger. The investigation of Sharon Newman. She chose to go to the club with Sharon, where she met Claire Grace Newman. Claire could report the lady searching for Sienna to the police if Sharon is killed. We are aware, nevertheless, that Sienna does nothing to harm Sharon. After a while, Sharon spoke with Sienna and discovered that Noah had been hiding a lot of things. She then made the decision to wait for Mitch, Sienna's husband. She was horrified to see someone from her past, Matt Clark, after she had hung up with Nick. What Mitch Bacall is not telling. According to spoilers for the Friday, October 31st, 2025 episode of The Young and the Restless, Sharon called out Matt Clark's name to Mitch's face. The man didn't appear perplexed or unprepared. It's likely that Sharon is correct and that this Mitch guy is actually the dead Matt who haunted her so many years ago. Could Noah's accident have been caused by Mitch? Why, according to Sienna, would he agree to invest in Noah's club? Serious risk and dark secrets. It's possible that Sienna is unaware that Mitch is actually Matt Clark, a villain. The length of Sienna and Mitch's marriage is unknown, although it is confirmed. Have they been together for years? Or is this a new marriage? Sienna said in a promotional video that it had been a while since she last saw her husband. The man admits to having been up to a lot during his absence. But is Sienna aware of the whole extent of his activities? Is Sienna actually Trisha Dennison McNeil if Mitch Bacall is actually Matt Clark? Updates and teasers for The Young and the Restless raise questions over whether Sienna Bacall is actually Trisha Dennison McNeil and whether Mitch Bacall is actually Matt Clark. We must first describe Trisha and her former relationship to Matt Clark in order to respond to that query. Trisha and Ryan McNeil were once married. Trisha was formerly married to Victoria Newman's first husband, Ryan McNeil. Her second husband, Cole Howard, who passed away lately, was Trisha's spouse. Ryan married Nina Webster after he and Victoria got divorced, but their union didn't last, and he started seeing the much younger Trisha, who was a college student at the time. By that time, Cole and Victoria were married, but by the time Claire Newman was conceived, they had split up and divorced. Following their breakup with Cole, Victoria wanted a newly single Ryan back after she briefly became connected with Neil Winters. Ryan ultimately met his untimely demise at the hands of a bullet from Trisha's rifle intended for Victoria, just as Trisha did. Hence, what role does Matt Clark/Mitch Bacall play? After splitting from Ryan and relocating to London with her father, Keith Dennison, Trisha started dating Carter Mills, the rapist Matt Clark, following extensive reconstructive surgery. 6 months later, she came back and demanded that Ryan, who had by then made amends with Victoria, return. After drugging Trisha and having an affair with her, Matt convinced her to set up Nicholas Newman, who had Matt imprisoned years prior. Trisha came to the terrible conclusion that Matt had raped her during their first sexual encounter after learning that he was carrying a date rape drug. Trisha then stopped Matt from attacking Sharon Newman, Nicholas' wife, a second time. Trisha was admitted to a mental hospital after Matt staged his death a second time. She drove Matt down a cliff in a desperate attempt to kill them both. She was only slightly hurt, but Matt was seriously injured and was not expected to live. Matt framed Nick for his murder while he was in the hospital and staged his own death. After being placed in a mental health facility, Trisha reportedly had hallucinations of Matt, who she knew as Carter Mills. In her weakened state, she said goodbye to the evil Matt, who had led her to do evil things like drugging and wooing Victor Newman. But Matt was still alive. Is it possible that Sienna was actually Trisha and failed to identify Mitch as Carter or Matt? Roger claims in an interview with Soap Opera Digest that Sienna is unaware that he is Matt Clark/Carter Mills, and that he wishes to prevent her from discovering his true identity. He hasn't had a second plastic operation, though, as Sharon recognized him. If Sienna is indeed Trisha, she might have undergone plastic surgery as well. The trauma she had undergone at Matt's hands, who she knew as Carter, could have forced her to bury the memories of that whole time period. Additionally, he could have been genuine and not hallucinated when he used her to carry out his orders, before she was institutionalized, because he pretended to be Carter Mills when he faked his death. We don't yet know how long Mitch and Sienna have been wed, and he might be manipulating her once more in order to get revenge on Nick and Sharon by killing Noah Newman, Mitch's dark secret and Sienna's serious danger. Sienna Bacall is a woman of imposing presence in the glitzy yet dimly lit corners of Los Angeles nightlife, her steely elegance concealing a past that even she may not entirely comprehend. As the mysterious proprietor of a high-end club, Sienna exudes assurance and command while negotiating the hazy waters of power, deceit, and desire. She lives in a world where danger and charm coexist, where every whispered word holds a threat and every smile conceals a reason. But underneath her fearless attitude is a heart that is on the verge of being exposed. The instant Noah Newman's accident drags her into a maelstrom of suspicion and secrets, the facade of her confidence starts to crumble. As she has secret conversations with Holden Novak, whose participation in her life seems far too intentional to be accidental, her once perfect poise starts to crumble. There are small discrepancies between Sienna's explanations to Nick Newman and Sharon Newman, which serve as the first clues that there is more to Sienna Bacall than meets the eye. The viewer gets the impression that this elegant, shrewd-witted woman, who is so skilled at surviving among sharks, would soon fall victim to a more formidable predator. When Sharon Newman enters the picture, the threat increases. Fans of the young and the restless are aware that Sharon's intuition is usually correct, especially when it alerts her to evil masquerading as charm. Sharon's decision to visit the club, motivated by her maternal concern and unwavering sense of justice, sets her on a collision course with her own troubled past. Claire Grace Newman's presence links centuries of Newman's secrets, and her keen eyes detect the tension boiling under Sienna's glossy veneer, making their fatal encounter an omen. As Sharon digs deeper, she finds contradictions in Noah's business practices and inquires about his enigmatic investor, Sienna's husband, Mitch Bacall. The temperature in the room drops as soon as Sharon discovers that Mitch is not your typical dude. She stops when she sees a face she thought had been long since buried. The same face, or maybe the same soul, that once belonged to Matt Clark, the monster who tortured her family and ruined lives in his wake. The realization hits like lightning in the Halloween episode, which airs on October 31st, 2025. "Matt Clark!" Sharon exclaims, her voice quivering as though summoning a ghost. The man in front of her does not recoil. He doesn't say no. She learns everything from his eyes, which are icy, calculating, and uncannily familiar. Resurrected with a new name, a new face, and a carefully crafted identity, Mitch Bacall is, in fact, Matt Clark. He responds to Sharon's charge with a frightening composure that chills viewers and suggests the beast she believed she had vanquished years ago has resurfaced, hungry as ever. However, why now? Why commit to Sienna Bacall, a lady who had no known connection to Genoa City until recently? As the narrative progresses, The answer shows a startling entwining of deceit, manipulation, and retaliation that is so perverse that it threatens to devour them all. Sienna's seeming independence starts to resemble seclusion as the plot develops. With its neon lights hiding the shadows encroaching on her, the club that once represented her success now feels like a gilded cage. She is oblivious to Mitch's deceptive tactics because of her devotion to him, including his half-truths, covert phone conversations, and cryptic allusions to unresolved business. To everyone else, Mitch seems like a sweet and loyal man who encourages his wife's goals. However, every smile Matt Clark gives Sienna is seen by Sharon and those who recall the wounds he left behind as a cover for his predatory intentions. The inquiry starts to change from, "Who is Mitch Bacall?" to "What extent does Sienna recall or know?" At this point, the narrative takes a psychological turn, exploring identity, trauma, and the mind's frantic defense mechanisms. Do you think Sienna Bacall is who she thinks she is? Tricia Dennison McNeil, whose complicated relationship with Matt Clark was one of obsession, deception, and devastation, is another sad figure that longtime viewers of The Young and the Restless will remember. Tricia was once married to Ryan McNeil, but after she succumbed to Matt's poisonous influence, her life fell apart. She committed unimaginable crimes as a result of her spiral into insanity, such as unintentionally killing Ryan during a terrible altercation intended to destroy Victoria Newman. She was later placed in an institution, her psyche shattered, and plagued by the ghost of Carter Mills, the persona Matt adopted when he returned to her life following plastic surgery. Could Tricia Dennison, who is mentally damaged and scarred, have feigned death and come back as Sienna Bacall with no recollection of her previous existence, just as Matt Clark was able to do? When Sienna describes Mitch as someone she hasn't seen in a long time, the term lingers, vague yet haunting, indicating a reunion tainted by forgotten familiarity, lending credence to this argument. The possibility that Sienna is Tricia, his former victim who has been so horribly exploited and damaged, is frighteningly realistic if Mitch is, in fact, Matt Clark reincarnated. A darkly poetic picture of fate's terrible design is painted by the possibility that these two suffering souls may have reconnected under different identities, oblivious of or refusing to acknowledge their shared past. Two characters who have been bonded by trauma and treachery and are brought back together by causes beyond their control make for the ideal soap opera twist. One needs to review Tricia's traumatic past in order to completely appreciate the significance of this revelation. Tricia was used as a puppet in Matt's retaliation plans against the Newman family following the dissolution of her marriage to Ryan McNeil and her fall into his web. She was drugged, tricked, and forced into a string of crimes that destroyed her sanity by the crafty and cruel Matt, who was then posing as Carter Mills. Tricia's delicate mental state was exploited by Matt, who has always been a superb manipulator, to advance his grudge against Nick and Sharon. Tricia's entire world fell apart when she learned that he had drugged and abused her. She was horrified and suddenly made aware that the man she believed to be her lover had cheated on her in the most heinous manner. Her attempt to drive them both off a cliff to break their destructive cycle resulted in yet another lie. Matt lived, staged his death again, and left Tricia labeled insane and delusional. Decades hence, Sienna may not recognize the guy she considers her husband for who he really is because of the same experience. It's possible that years of counseling, medicine, and possibly even plastic surgery helped Sienna reconstruct her life under a different identity if she is, in fact, Tricia. Perhaps in order to live, she buried the atrocities of what Matt had done to her in her memory and blotted out her background. Ever the predator, Matt might have pursued her and taken advantage of her forgetfulness to re-enter her life as the affable businessman and loyal husband, Mitch Bacall. As a result, their relationship takes on a darker dimension, with a man torturing the same woman who previously loved and devastated him, changing the course of events to become a spouse rather than an abuser. Therefore, Sharon's discovery goes beyond simply recognizing Mitch as Matt. It also aims to dispel the complete delusion that has shaped Sienna's life. As she confronts Mitch, Sharon understands that exposing him would also mean ruining Sienna's fragile sense of self. It's a moral and emotional conundrum. Should Sienna be shielded from the potential psychological breakdown, or should the truth be revealed to save her? Mitch, who is aware of Sharon's knowledge, starts making plans to permanently quiet her in the meanwhile. He understands that Sharon's perseverance is his greatest threat, and the closer she gets to Sienna, the more deadly things become for both women. When odd incidents start to happen, faulty wiring at the club, brakes cutting on Sharon's car, threatening messages that disappear before the police can find them, the feeling of grave danger takes on a tangible form. The audience is aware that these are not random occurrences. Mitch's mask slips as his control tightens as he closes in. Noah Newman unintentionally becomes a pawn in Mitch's bigger scheme at the same time. At first thought to be a terrible accident, his accident might have been planned as part of Mitch's retaliation against the team. Mitch targets Nick where it hurts most, his family, by hurting Noah. Additionally, he guarantees Sienna's loyalty while putting her life in jeopardy by tricking her into thinking he is her best friend. This situation is really complex emotionally. Once her greatest strength, Sienna's uncompromising independence, now causes her to become isolated. She is unable to recognize that the man she has faith in is the same monster who ruined her life many years ago. The audience is left in suspense as Sharon scrambles to reveal the truth, leaving them to wonder if Sienna's rediscovered memories will save or ruin her. The ultimate redemption arc might be Sienna's finding of her past if the notion that she is Trisha is correct. Imagine the moment she finally remembers. The reverberation of Matt's voice from the past, the sensation of being high, and the shock of discovering that her spouse is the same man who has abused her in the past. The Young and the Restless is known for its heartbreaking, emotional revelations. Raw vulnerability and wrath would take the place of Sienna's once ferocious veneer. However, she would also regain her authority in that time of reckoning. She would not be the delusional victim or the tricked girl this time. She would be the one to permanently defeat Matt Clark. However, being the survivor, Mitch won't be easily defeated. Even Sharon is unaware of the depth of his evil secret. Rumors circulate about offshore accounts, secret identities, and partnerships with criminals connected to Genoa City's aristocracy. It appears that his scheme goes beyond retaliation. Mitch's ultimate objective might be to destroy the Newman enterprise from inside by manipulating and laundering money through Sienna's club. From the glitzy lights of Los Angeles to the shadowy hallways of Genoa City's past, every character, from Nick to Sharon to Noah, becomes embroiled in a web of lies. The distinction between the past and present becomes more hazy as the plot nears its conclusion. Sharon's nightmares of Matt resurface, mixing with Sienna's flashbacks of Carter Mills. The women, who were once strangers, bond over their common courage and pain. Together, Sienna, the wounded soul regaining her truth, and Sharon, the fighter who will not be silenced, symbolize the two sides of survival. Their partnership becomes the focal point of the narrative, demonstrating fortitude in the face of evil. When Sienna and Mitch's inevitable meeting finally comes, it promises to be explosive. Not just a physical altercation, but also a psychological conflict between love and hate, past and present, and victim and abuser. Ultimately, Sienna's grave danger. Mitch's sinister secret is a reflection on identity, pain, and rebirth rather than just a tale of deceit and retaliation. It investigates how the human mind survives, reinvents, and forgets in the face of excruciating suffering. It poses the questions of whether people who have lived lives based on deception can ever be saved and whether pure love can ever exist when trust has been used as a weapon. From powerful club owner to traumatized survivor, Sienna's trajectory reflects the path of many women in soap opera legend. Strong, flawed, and incredibly captivating. One thing is certain as The Young and the Restless progresses. Genoa City's ghosts never really go away. They simply come back with fresh looks, new names, and unresolved issues.